We'll go ahead and get started with a little bit of background on Brian and Lisa. First, who everybody is. So I'm Samantha. I'm the head of marketing here at Strety. We have Brian, our CEO and main product guy, and Lisa González, our implementer and process queen and expert, as you can see from her background. We are going to talk today about kind of the journey that Brian's had of self-implementing EOS for over a decade and then choosing to work with Lisa beginning this year. And so I'd love to just start with asking the both of you what your entrepreneurial journey has looked like. You both have kind of similar entrepreneurial family backgrounds, so you started building at young ages. And we will start with Lisa. So can you tell us about the beginning of your journey?
Absolutely. Yeah. My journey starts with my parents who were from Puerto Rico, and they made their way from the island to the mainland and across the country to Los Angeles. This is where I was born. And in my lifetime, my parents probably had, before I was 20, maybe probably 10 different businesses in every arena, every industry. My dad didn't even finish high school, ended up going to night school and became an attorney. And so, but he always was super entrepreneurial. So he opened up his own law practice, then a real estate agency, then was involved in many multi-level businesses as well. I grew up with Amway and so many things that were random. But and through that experience, I ended up working in my parents' businesses and weekends and summers, and was very operational for them because they were very visionary. We moved around the country, up and down the coast of California, most of my life growing up, just to kind of chase that next business idea and adventure. So that's my entrepreneurial journey. As a kid, ended up becoming an attorney actually, but really missed that entrepreneurial life and joined my husband's startup in remodel, who is a hair on fire visionary that had no experience in construction, but knew that there was an opportunity to provide really great service to people in the construction industry. So our brand promise was that our projects would finish on time, on budget, and we opened up offices throughout the country. And it was self-implemented EOS for many, many years, which is where I think Brian and I have, I think we connected on that experience, among others as well. So that's the answer to your question. That's my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, similar. Crazy how similar Lisa and I are, or at least our journeys are. So I have Cuban parents, and it goes back 3 generations. I think my great-grandfather started his own company. My grandfather was forced to start something new when he immigrated to Miami, Florida during the revolution in the 1960s. That was a cigarette company, which my father disliked quite a bit. So he ended up starting his own company in 1980. So I grew up similar in a small business entrepreneurial family. So I enjoyed the perks of having my dad at a lot of my baseball games and the downsides of canceled vacations last minute and working weekends and the stress of having your own gig. So very much saw it and actually joined that family business for a couple of years after college. And just to keep the family lineage going, I decided I wanted to do my own thing. And I started a software company with my brother in 2010. And that was where, in that company that I found EOS in 2016. So that was my entrepreneurial journey that got us all the way to the EOS world.
Nice. And then picking up right there, what drew you to EOS in the first place?
The calmness of it. So I pride myself on being a relatively calm person, and we were growing fast, and it was growing despite of my many mistakes that I was making. And so things were just getting a little bit out of control. And at that same time, at least EOS in my world of selling software to managed services providers who are also small business owners and entrepreneurs themselves, action was gaining a lot of traction in that community. And so I was handed the book at the exact time that we were at, let's say, 15 or 20 employees and without any structure. I was 30, early 30s at that time, with a lot of young first-time managers. So as I read this very clear, concise book on how to run a business, I knew how to build the product, but how to run the business was still escaping me. The book's simplicity just drew me in right away. And the promise of calmness was it. So that got me hooked. And here I am, whatever it is, 10, 12 years later.
A big EOS fanatic.
Now I wear it on my jacket every day.
Right?
Yeah.
Big fan.
And how about you, Lisa? So you also self-implemented EOS. How was that for you guys?
Absolutely. And I want to make a note here. We're going to open up for questions at the end. So if you guys have comments or questions, feel free to add them now or later. We're going to hopefully save about 10 minutes. So just want to make sure this is bringing or other value to as well. But for me, I grew up in my family's businesses, which we would go from feast or famine to the point where sometimes we almost lost our home. And my parents there were 4 of us kids. And the stress that they experienced as entrepreneurs was evident in our lives, and it caused a lot of chaos. And so it could cause stress on their marriage and our family. And I think that chaos made me like just yearn for order and maybe neurotically become very like operational. I joined my husband's company, and I was always reading business books even as a kid because of Amway. It's like one of the blessings of Amway is always had access to like, how to win friends and influence people, or all those books, like business books, and read them as a kid. And so I was still reading those types of books when we were launching our company. We opened up in multiple cities in the United States. And at a point, we lost our shorts, multiple points, actually. Every time we opened a new office, we would lose money. And fortunately, we were a part of, and we would just keep working harder and harder, still growing. We could always grow top line, but never get consistent profitability. So I'm answering your question. Okay, yeah. So we were a part of EO, and someone handed the book to us and devoured it. I devoured it in one day and implemented it and made changes overnight. Truly, of like, we had a business partner that was no longer ended up being our partner. We did a lot of things to get the right people in the right seats and just follow the book. And because we self-implemented, we didn't do it perfectly. As an implementer now, I see the book can't tell you everything, but we did enough to make a huge impact on our business. And it was phenomenal.
Nice. And then how did you kind of go from that self-implementing EOS, running businesses, into deciding I'm going to become an implementer? I love this so much.
I love it too, because the gift of EOS, the promises do come true. In EOS, we say you get access to alignment on your vision, you get the rhythms and consistency through traction, and you become healthy as an organization. And those things really did come true. And we had great leaders in all of our markets. We actually grew to become one of the largest residential remodelers in the country. And because of that, I just was like, wow, this is magic. And I think because of seeing what I grew up with in the chaos, and to be clear, my parents provided really well for us. It just came at a cost of a lot of stress, phenomenal upbringing, all those things. But I know there's an easier way for people to have this business that they create and to love their lives still, versus creating a business that makes you hate your life. And I got to experience all those things. So I think because it works so well in our own company, I exited the company and just then became an implementer, because I know people are putting their hearts and souls in these companies that they're launching, and they're operating usually fine enough, but I know they can be more efficient and more profitable, and people can have a lot more fun while they're doing it. And that's what made me do it. That's what keeps me doing it after all these years, because it's been now 7 or 8 years that I have been implementer. It's been phenomenal.
Awesome. To go back kind of to the idea of self-implementing, Brian, when you self-implemented at Strety, what was the difference there, self-implementing from the beginning versus picking it up in the middle at BrightGauge?
Oh, I mean, it's easier when you start with it, even though, EOS is, I think, shines brightly when you're past like 10, 12 employees. I know you can use it when you're smaller, but once you start breaking out teams, I think that's when EOS really shines. So, but right people, right seats. It's easy to start that way than to change it after the fact or midstream. So that was a huge difference. And just getting everyone because even if you're not running on EOS or running on an operating system, you just don't have it named. And so to switch, even for a small, nimble software company of young people that want to try stuff, that is still more challenging. I would say probably 98% of people start, implement EOS midstream. So I got kind of lucky at Strety. But yeah, that's the biggest difference is we don't adopt any bad habits. We don't have to change any bad habits after the fact.
Nice.
And what do you guys both think that you got right as self-implementers?
I'll take this one, Lisa, and then chime in. So I've always wanted to build companies that we have a great time working in. Selfishly, I want to have a good time working in my companies. We always EOS gave us the language on the right person, right seat, and the core values that I could then say, this is what I'm trying to accomplish for all of us to have the same core values, for all of us to have a GWC on the roles that we're in. But as a self-implementer, I was kind of naturally doing that anyway. So I think I had that nailed, which helped alleviate a lot of other potential issues that I've seen in other companies that I've helped, or I've told them to read the book and they try to implement EOS. So we did that really, really well. Fortunately, we ran our meetings. Like I really bought into L10s, sacred, do not mess with them. This is the format. We're all here at the same time every week. And so we crushed our L10 meetings and solving issues, because I've reflected on this quite a bit. The solving issues, a lot of that comes down to, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. In my opinion, it comes down to team health and being able to have an open and honest conversation about these issues that people are bringing up. And so I think we did that really well naturally because we had a strong team health at the previous company and this one too. And I think that enabled us to have a good self-implementation, to have a successful outcome at the previous company and to be doing well at Strety. So that's what I got.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. I want to add that the reason it's working so well as your implementer is your openness to just your openness. I love working with teams where the leaders are open to like using the system and following the system. We all have, you mentioned this, we all had an operating system for our business. And sometimes even companies that adopt EOS, they still want to use their old system, but just kind of tweak it.
Yeah.
And even in our company, like my most embarrassing admission is, so I was an employment defense lawyer before I had this history of a career, but I was an employment lawyer before I started work with my husband's company, before I became an implementer. And I was, as a younger leader, I was very tactical and very much not mature or aware of emotional intelligence or things like that, probably. And not probably, definitely.
That seems impossible now, knowing you.
It's pretty crazy because I had no awareness. I was just a tactical person. And so when we started self-implementing EOS, I did tweak with the system. And you know how you open up with good news, personal and professional? I was like, let's get rid of that thing. Like, we'll have 5 more minutes to dive into issues and score. And like, who cares about, each other's hearts and connecting vulnerability and let's cut that stuff out. So that's how we think we know. And today I'm like, that's a psychopath that would do something like that. But I did that. And now it's, so it's like, it's not only about being tactical, like every piece of EOS, even if you can't understand why it's there, it's a really perfect system. And every piece has a purpose, including like connecting with each other's hearts before you are going to be open and honest about the issues arising in the company. And I think you do that so exceptionally well of encouraging your team, and your team's phenomenal, to be open and honest and vulnerable, because that's the space you need in order to have great meetings. So you're 1,000% right when it comes to culture.
Yeah.
Well, when things are working so well, when you're self-implementing, what made you decide to bring on an implementer? And how did you know that Lisa was the right fit for Strety?
That was great. How much time we have? We have another hour. I can go on.
We have 4 hours, right, everybody?
So
calendars.
I was one not to say I needed an implementer or wanted an implementer. And we were self-funded in previous company and also self-funded at Strety. So this is our own cash. And so it means we're just a lot more mindful with it, right? And software companies burn money to start. Anyway, so just mindful of that. I had a few instances where, because I'm in the software business for EOS, I talked to a lot of EOS implementers, and 2 conversations stood out in the sense that they unearthed very quickly that I wasn't using all the tools right. And like Lisa said, like the system is perfect, and I want to say I believe that, but probably not fully. And so one person out of Utah here gave me a 30-minute call on my VTO and just gave me quick tips, and I was like, that was amazing. Like, that just solved these little issues that were happening over here by just clarifying VTO and also the accountability chart too. Sorry, the leadership team. So that was eye-opening. And then the second one was at a Great Boss workshop that I sponsored. I was there like with a booth, and then I ended up taking notes half the time of like, oh, I didn't realize, oh yeah, that's what's going on with Sam or something. It just blew my mind. And so I took my little humility pill, and I was like, all right, Brian, if you're in this world, we really should have an implementer. We struggled because we have so many implementer friends that it was, we were fearful those would be hard to choose. But then Lisa and I met in Denver. It was, again, during an event, and we just clicked on a human level, which is huge for me, and I'm sure for many, many others. And I just feel like she could understand our culture. I understood her background, right? And then also her passion for process. I thought I was doing process correctly here at Strety. We were not. So I was like, oh my God, this is like God telling me that this is the person. So very quickly after that meeting in Denver, I think a month later, we hired her for the next quarter. So, but yeah, humbling, but totally the right call. I know we'll probably get into that, but that's how we got here.
Thank you for that.
So Lisa, when you are approached by a team like the Strety team who has been self-implementing EOS for a long time, do you take a different way with them than you do with teams who are brand new to EOS, never hardly read traction?
By the way, not a lot of eye rolling from her when I talked to her the first time. A lot of other implementers, you're like, oh, you self-implement. Oh, okay. So anyway, sorry, interject that.
No, I keep my eye rolls inside. No, I roll my eyes a lot, and I did not eye roll. No, So a few things to answer. One is because we self-implemented, like I know, and for people on this call, if you're self-implementing, it can be done. I will tell you, if you're trying to scale, I do think using an implementer will help you get there faster. Just like everything else, we had to work harder as in self-implementing. And it actually became my full-time job in our company to do that. I was on what used to be called Base Camp. Now it's the EOS Academy, and it became my role. And so we took it very seriously, but it was another job. And so, plus I had another internal job in that company as well. So when I am working with people that have self-implemented, the ones that I really enjoy are people like Brian that are open to, we've been doing this, but can you help us do it better? And versus people that are like, we just want to tweak this a little bit more and still keep our own system. Just because I can't teach someone their system, I can teach something that's been proven year over year that, tens of thousands of companies have done well. And so it does take a lot of humility in that this is the process for running your business. It's, at the end of the day, EOS is just a process for running your business. And we have to agree on using the same process. And I won't try to turn everything into a process conversation, but that's what it is. And so there's no different rules. If you're going to use this process, we're going to use this one. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I was gonna say, I think even personality wise, we were ready for it and excited about it because it's like, oh, we're gonna learn more about something that we're already passionate about. So if anything, I mean, I don't know what you think, Lisa. Did it help us go faster in the beginning?
I'm just taking it one quarter at a time. So confession is since they were already self-implementing, I was invited to their annual meeting. Yeah. And what happens if you have those same cadences is I'm working with you like in the framework you have. In the perfect world, we would go back and just start from scratch, right? But if you already have the foundational tools in place, most implementers will just meet you where you're at and we'll just work on your tools and help you get them where they need to be. And we've had 2 or 3 sessions now. And as many of you know, the journey of EOS is a lifelong journey. So we'll circle back on all the tools, make sure everything's where it needs to be, but you can't do it all at one time. And your business is exploding. And so we're doing the best we can quarter over quarter and hitting what we can when we're together.
Yeah. Well, I know that was huge for us just to be able to jump in midstream. Literally we had a planned trip to Vegas and we're like, just show up, I guess, we'll start that way.
We're just doing it as we go and catching up on the foundational tools. And you guys are doing a really, really good job too. But your coachability has been phenomenal. And that's what makes this so fun.
That's awesome. So what has been different about these meetings that you've had together as leadership team with Lisa in the room?
I can't believe I didn't do it sooner is the gist. For me, the biggest thing is I'm the integrator. And so even at the previous company, I was running all these quarterlies and annualies and I didn't mind it, but now I can't believe it. I can't, why would I? So now I'm so happy that Lisa can run it because I can just be a participant in the meeting as I should be and not the facilitator as well. Because it's hard to run both and I miss stuff. That's like the number one thing. Number two thing is, again, having there's multiple, but I'll give you 3. So the second thing is that Lisa can tease out issues that I may not have been able to do on my own, or I would not have been able to do on my own, just because I'm in the mix too much. I'm too deep with all the people in the room. She can just say, "Oh, that sounds like there's friction. What is that?" Oh, okay. And she takes it and she writes it up. I'm like, that is massive because then we solve that issue and it's done. There was one particular in this last one that really happened and it blew my mind. And then the third one is the extra education of the tools itself. And Lisa, what is it? You guys are EOS Implementers, are facilitators, educators. What was it?
Yeah, facilitator, teacher, and coach. Teacher. So we get to teach during our quarterly sessions. Like here's a leadership lesson. Here's a financial lesson on how, driving your cash flow. Here's something on process, of course. And so we spend an hour in every session just like learning because you guys are very good. All of you on this call are probably very good at understanding your business and being smart about your business. And we just try to teach you more like how to work on your business so you can be healthy as well.
Yeah, we did in last quarterly, we did the people analyzer. And that's something that I've done for 10 years. And I thought like, this is a basic tool type of thing. And I still personally, I picked stuff out of it. And then my leadership team picked up a lot of things that are relevant to the moment in time. So like that never happened in my self-run implementers, implemented meetings. Obviously, the process stuff is massive to be with the process queen, but just like that continuing education, those are the 3 things that stood out to me. Like I'm not the facilitator. I get to learn a bunch more about the tools, and then she teases out things that only a third party and someone that really cares and is good would tease out. So it's
You're doing something else in those meetings, Brian, which I hope Strety users appreciate, is you and everyone on your team will be, wait a minute. And you guys are also doing like a meta analysis of your software of like, wait, so how will people use this in our software? And so it's like we're doing a double
Yes.
session on now let's change the software at the same time. So they're capturing so many issues of just ways to make the user experience better too, which is very fun to be a part of as well.
Yeah, that's a side benefit we get, which is it's great. I mean, it's meta, like we're working on EOS for our EOS software. And then you've used it, so you have to also play independent role because then you know the software. Like, hey, Brian, can you just change this over here? Like, but yeah, it's definitely a perk for that. But
that's awesome. For the both of you, I would love to talk a little bit more about that issue that you teased out and that you wrote about, Brian, and just giving tips for people who are still like facilitating their own sessions. How do you identify issues like this that can easily slip through the cracks, and how do you facilitate a better session if you're doing it yourself?
Lisa, the issue I wrote about was, I don't know if you remember, it was about one-on-ones, how we have too many. And then you just wrote it on the board. You know, we worked through it at the end a little bit.
Quarterly conversations.
Yeah. So how do you do it? Like, are you listening intently for, hey, that person just made a joke about something that's probably not, there's probably some truth to it. Like, how are you pulling this off?
Well, so I'm unfortunately very empathetic human. So I read the room the whole entire time and I'm exhausted by the end of the day. So fortunately or unfortunately, so that's part of it. It's just my personality. And other implementers have the same skill, right? We're reading and seeing what's happening, or you're hearing themes. I think it's very difficult to run the meeting and facilitate the meeting and work on your business at the same time, Sam, to the point of your question. Even sometimes, so people know there's options, sometimes people even will come in and just as an implementer for the annual session only. There are implementers, there's almost 900 implementers around the world that can help people. And so even if you're like, hey, we can afford a 1 day or 2 day annual with a person just so I can sit as the business owner and just be a part of the meeting, that's a great option. Because it's very difficult to do both. Even a lot of self-implementers have, I don't know the solution to it, but it's hard to wear both hats.
Yeah, and that particular issue, it's something that's been bothering me and my team, that we still sit on too many one-on-ones, and we've been hiring a bunch of people. So it's like, it's kind of used, maybe it's needed, but then Lisa just called it out and was like, probably shouldn't do that. Yeah, you said it nicer because you didn't prescribe anything, but that was my takeaway. And then I was like, oh, see, guy, all right.
Yeah.
We kind of dug in a little bit, but that would have never come out of, for me. I've known it's an issue. It's just been in the back of my mind. I'll deal with it later. And so just from that issue that we talked about and solved, like we got, I think 2 of my team members are doing 3 less one-on-ones a week. So that's 6 hours a week.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I mean, that's real money that we're saving just because we had that frank discussion with an expert that's dealt with other businesses that could say, hey, that, kind of call BS sometimes.
Yeah, we used to run our business on one-on-ones before EOS. And then you learn about, if you're having this is what I teach and we teach, is if you're having great level 10 meetings and people are open and honest in those meetings, I don't really probably need to have a one-on-one with you because you're sharing it all in that level 10 meeting. And then hopefully if you need one-on-one time with me, that's going to happen during your quarterly conversations. And so it was a huge cultural shift for our company because people did want one-on-one time with us. But, if we're going to scale and help our leaders grow, that's the ideal. And we just say you do one-on-ones when necessary.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, I can say that. I mean, by the way, my team and I have been working together for 10 years. We are good friends. We have a blast. But if I say that 3 times, it won't land as well as Lisa saying 1 time in Denver in a room. So
it helps. I would love to talk about kind of other things that you felt like you missed as a self-implementer, Brian, that you were surprised about. One of the common themes in the newsletter you're writing is like the longer range tools. You always kind of glossed over. You felt they're not really applicable because we're moving so fast. It's a startup. How do we know what 3 years is going to look like?
Yeah.
Can you talk about those tools and what's changed for you about them?
Yeah, the accountability chart in the VTO in particular, we've taken much more seriously this year because of Lisa. I just never, again, like you said, we've been in startup mode, both companies. We had just passed a huge milestone in the previous company. We were profitable, but it was only like a year of the 9 years, and then we sold it. So we never got to kind of that steady state mode. And Strety, then you start again. So similar concepts. So I never could imagine like, 3 years from now, what does it look like? Your guess is as good as mine. But you can say that internally with a bunch of people in the trenches with you, but then we were in Vegas with Lisa and it's like, no, what do you want it to look like? It can change. And so all of us kind of thinking through that and saying, this is what we want out of our company in 3 years. And then right next, all right, so in a year from now, what do we need to get done more tactically? to potentially get us there in 3 years. What was then more eye-opening. So now we took our annual goals more seriously. And then obviously we back into the quarterly. I always had the quarterlies down, but it was just that long-range planning I never fully bought into. So that was massive. And now it has almost created like a sense of calmness that I think Larry, my business partner, is probably freaking out because we haven't been this calm, even with even in previous company. But it's like, hey, here's the path. We're doing all the right things. Let's just keep going. And it's like, oh, that's beautiful. And then the accountability chart, it's one of those tools I love for Lisa's take on this. Yeah. It's hard to keep updating, right? Every week, month, whatever, we're hiring a bunch of people. So to go back, so quarterly now, to know we have to go back because she's going to ask us about it, or we're going to look stupid if we don't have it updated, is super helpful because I've already seen it help reduce issues when we're super clear on who owns what. And the best way to be clear is to literally write it down, right? So the accountability chart's still like a work in progress from how often we update it, but sense its importance much more. Lisa, I don't know if how you see
exactly.
Using.
No, it's exactly right. And you're tracking well. The goal is that we want your accountability chart to be used as a vision document of it being built out for the next 6 to 12 months so that people can see the opportunities in the organization so we can budget for these future roles, all of those things. And so it's not just an org chart that's going to get done once a year. And so we do review it every quarter. We check in on, is everyone in the seats they need to be in? Do people need any more coaching or support to be successful? And so it's very much a tool and not just a one and done, way more than you would intuitively think. And we certainly, when we were self-implementing, did not use it that way either. Just didn't understand that it's a vision document.
It's not just
it is completely not you. There's no way you'd even know it. I mean, implementers get trainings every quarter for a full day. We have our own quarterly sessions, right? And so we're diving deeper into these tools every single quarter just to make sure we can bring more and more value to you guys too as leaders. So yeah, it's a ton of fun.
The other thing that Lisa kind of brought to me, which I told plenty of people, I think I wrote about this, but it stuck with me. The Vegas trip was like, everything's an issue. Like if you're not sure what it is, it's an issue. And so by then documenting whatever, that was something I never did. It was like
writing them down.
Not writing it. Like I would just, and Sam knows this about us because in software, there's a million things to do. So to write those a million things down is useless because it just gets stale. So I took that same approach to the issues stuff. And I think that was problematic because issues would continue to surface, but it was never written down. It's just kind of put in my mind, hey, it's not a thing. And so now I'm more adamant about putting long-term issues, knowing that we will literally run through them in the quarterly to see if we need to solve them or see if we need to turn them into rocks. And so that's another thing that we weren't doing really well pre-Lisa.
You will just do better. Not that you weren't doing it well, just doing better. You can hit tangent alert button here, but I need to say something before I forget. You keep mentioning Vegas, and I need people to know that our Vegas trip, we all concluded, and I'm with 6 of the coolest guys in the world. We all concluded we're not cool enough for Vegas and we're never returning there. And it was miserable. So every time you mention Vegas, I want people to know that we will never be going. We will never be going back to Vegas. I'm not a gambler. Like, everything about Vegas was abysmal. And so I just need to let everyone know that. Next time I get to pick where we're meeting in the future.
No, Denver that's another perk. Denver is like Lisa has her own office that she's sitting in right now. It's a beautiful session room. And we were not sure about, hey, is Denver really like, let's go to because we're all remote. So, and we're all friends. So we're going to start rotating them. We did a self quarterly. This will freak out some of the people on the call at a concert, like the day before leading up to a concert. We ended up like tailgating halfway through the meeting. Like this is not a productive use of time. So anyway, going to Denver for Lisa's session space, we're like, I wonder how this is going to go. And we all loved it, right? It's a professional space. It's set up just for this. It's got all the stuff on the walls that we need to, the whiteboards, TV screen. So yes, Vegas was awful, but that was a self-implemented idea that you should.
I just wanted to be clear that we're not in Vegas every quarter.
No, definitely not. Good tangent, though.
Good tangent. Another problem self-implementers create for themselves.
Exactly. You wouldn't have a productive meeting tailgating before a concert. What concert?
It was a Dave Matthews.
Had to be Dave Matthews. That's one of our company core values. It's Dave Matthews.
Well, I figured we were all going to be there, and it was the quarter. So I was like, hey, why don't we just get there day or
best laid plans.
And then things really went haywire. And then Larry was running the meeting. He's our visionary, which that means things have gone off rails. Yeah. But great concert.
Great concert, though.
Incredible session. Great concert. Gosh, that's so funny.
So speaking of self-implementers and what else they miss.
Oh, yes.
Right on the wall next to you, Lisa. Process. Like one of the hardest components for self-implementers,
Well,
right? So yeah, let's talk
no, I
about
was gonna say, I said this at the beginning. One of the things I realized in Lisa's talk in Denver that I went to is that we were not doing process correctly, and so I was like, I know for sure I'm gonna get process dialed in as a tool. That was definitely something we were not doing well across the company. The previous company, this one, we thought we were, but it wasn't until Lisa kind of reframed it that now we're starting to use it, which is then provides clarity, and clarity is just calmness. Lisa, how are you seeing this across your client base? I know you have a unique vantage point.
Yeah, I really do. So when I got the traction book, which is probably behind me, I actually went to the process page, the process chapter first. Or sorry, when I got the traction book, I went to the process chapter first. It says no one ever, because we had scaled into multiple cities, and I had actually documented, and some people have heard the story, and made like this really gorgeous 12, 3-ring binder like this big with all of our processes. And I presented it to our leadership team, and no one even looked at it because it was too detailed. And even I forgot about it because it just was too much. It got outdated really quickly. And so when we finally got the traction book, I went to understand how do you do process better, and did it for our office. And I think it obviously it paid dividends. And when I became an implementer, obviously was selected to write the process book as well and co-author it. And I get to do the same thing with my clients. And now this book has been out 5 or 6 years, and just the experience. So for those of you who feel like we don't do process well, or our process component is weak, I think it is the experience of most companies running on EOS, to be fair. And so I don't want people to beat themselves up. I just feel there hasn't been a framework to do it successfully. And much like, Strety helps us have a great level 10 framework and keep our EOS process going forward with, checking in on all the right things like your rocks and your scorecards. The framework is needed for process. And that's what over the past 5 or 6 years I've created in doing process boot camps and workshops and consulting. That was a kind of a new business line I've been doing since writing the book. And so what I found is that people need the structure and have a roadmap in order to do this process work well, and to take it quarter over quarter. It is, for better or for worse, a lifelong journey. And I found that so many teams and actually businesses out there exist to help you document your processes. But at the end of the day, the only reason that matters is if you can get the documentation and packaged into people's hands so they can use it. And so I think every session I go into when I first meet clients, like everyone wants to talk about documenting. And I will tell you, that is 5% of this journey. It really is about how do you simplify it and start training people on it, and then get it, packaged and trained and measured and managed and updated, get it followed by all. So the cool thing is working with Brian is, we just keep finding fun ways to work together. Is, they took the work I've done over 5 or 6 years and put it into the Strety software. Sam and everyone has sent out videos on how to use that. And it's going to be a game changer for people. And I'm thrilled because it's not people's lack of care necessarily on process. It's just they haven't had a great framework to do it successfully. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's my experience. Is like people are hard on themselves, and I just think they didn't have the right tools, and now they're going to get the right tools.
Yeah. Again, this is the fun part about working with Lisa, is that whenever we start talking about, and it's not in Strety, we're like, all right, we got to add it in there. And because then we get to use it, we get to use it in the session room, or at least before the session room. So the process, Sam went on maternity leave a couple of years ago, and she documented everything. And I think I looked at it once. I know. And I mean,
Don't
it's also
her.
No, it's okay. It was so much. It was
evident.
the 3-ring binder.
Okay, Sam, I knew
it was beautiful. I saw, I was like, hey, if I want to go in here, it's there. I see it, but terrifying. Yeah. So anyway, the Lisa and the EOS way is much more simplified. It does provide the opportunity to have all that background documentation if and when needed. It's definitely a simplified, and it's a different mental approach to it. And so the features that we built to help you implement it are that simplified way. But for us, it's like it really shined light when we were hiring a bunch of people, and say, how do we get everyone to know what's going on quickly, because we're growing fast. And so she's helped us document our customer journey from a sales perspective all the way to customer success. Now I forgot this quarter's rocks, and I don't want to look it up while we're here, but we have quarterly rocks for each process that we want to do, and there's a process for making sure we train people. So that's been huge. Now again, no way I would have picked that up even by just reading the book, yes, but like there's no way I would pick it up without having a professional help me get it going, right? And that's where I think the beauty of this. I'm such a big fan of implementers now, and after 10 years of not using one, it's kind of funny, but there's huge value to it. Huge value.
Thank you.
Love that. Well, so to kind of bring it back to the beginning of your journey, Brian, what would you tell yourself if you were starting over again with EOS? Would it just be higher?
At least no. From a self-implementer standpoint, I think I worried so much about getting things right technically. And that's another perk that having an implementer kind of helps you alleviate that mental hum of like, is this a rock? Is this an issue? Or is this a scorecard? Is this like you get really twisted into the making it perfect. And there is a sense of purity, right? We want to be EOS pure, but the striving for perfection is almost wasteful time. So I think that is my number one thing I would tell old Brian. I would still do the Dave Matthews concert quarterly, just so you know. I do not regret that. I would also tell folks that are self-implementing, because solving issues, I think, is everything, part of the traction, right? Part of the traction part of it. And so really buying into that everything is an issue. And if you really don't know what that issue is, chances are it's a process issue or a people issue. And I've stressed that quite a bit. And then the other thing is, and this was because I was not this way, like really thinking about using all the tools. EOS it is a perfect system, and chasing that purity from using all the tools to its fullest is something that you should strive for as a self-implementer. It might be hard, and that's okay. Like I'm okay with people starting with, hey, let's just get the L10s and get going, because there's benefit there. But if really want to get the most out of it, and I should have done this 8 years ago, not 10, maybe not 10, but 8, and try to use more of the tools, even those like peripheral tools like clarity breaks and delegate and elevate, all these tools that are not dialed in the book, but you'll read about them elsewhere. There's more tools, EOS tools out there to help you as a business. And so that's what I would do differently next time around. But there won't be a next time around.
There we go. And Lisa, what would you say to self-implementers to help them get the most out of EOS?
Ditto on Brian. It's definitely a case if you don't know what you don't know. And so EOS has something called the EOS Academy now that people can dive in deeply if they want to. And if you that the ideal target market for EOS, we say, is 10 to 250 employees. So if you have that complexity, like, it's definitely worth investigating if an implementer can support you. But if you don't, or you don't think you've kind of financially invest in it, Gino Wickman, who wrote Traction, said, it was intended that people can self-implement EOS. And so it's going to take a lot of your time, but you can do it. And having, these kind of conversations, we want to be, I want to be generous with my knowledge and experience, and the extent to which you can lean on other friends or join conversations like this or go into EOS Academy. I haven't been in there a ton, but I know I see great conversations happening there for self-implementers. And so I definitely would encourage you to just dive into other resources until the time is right. And then very much recommend getting an implementer to support you. And implementers have different ranges of their session fees, and they're all over the country. And some people do it virtually and in person. So there's a lot of options today, which we implemented EOS about 15 years ago. And I didn't even know there were implementers. I just got the book and ran with it. So things are so different today that you have a lot of resources available.
Awesome. I think that was super helpful.
Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
My absolute pleasure. And thank you, Sam, and everyone that's on there. I'm so passionate about helping people execute their business more efficiently. And so just the fact that you all took time to do this and spend time out of your very busy days is phenomenal. So thanks for letting me be a part of it. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. And Amy just brought up the summit in September.
Right.
I'm so excited. Integrator Summit. So if you go to Sam, you should send an email to everyone on this call. Strety's hosting an Integrator Summit, which will have a lot of topics on Perfect. EOS, how to run your business. There'll be some Strety training as well in Park City, Utah. Should be beautiful. So if anyone interested, please join us. We're capping at 100, and we've sent one email out, and we're at 65.
73.
73? I just lied to some people then in a different email. All right. Thank you for joining, Sam. Thanks for setting this up. And
thank you all.
We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.
Take care. So great to see you.